This is the third time I'm trying to record this video because every time I talk about this topic, I always get sidetracked, right? It's like I go on these massive tangents about like viewership and like the ins and outs of NBA media and stuff. But overall, the point I'm trying to make in this video is that the NBA media sucks, right? The coverage around this game sucks. And the thing that really inspired me to make this video was what Shaquille O'Neal said about the Detroit Pistons.
When I hear people say, oh, the NBA is boring, I go, you're watching the same teams. Because if you put on the Detroit Pistons right now.
Oh, stop it. They're boring too.
No.
Bro, 4 games under 500.
They've won 7 in a row.
Whoopee freaking do.
And I don't think they're 4 games under 500.
All right, what are they?
I'm going to look it up right now. And if you're right, I'm going to be pissed. They're 6 games over 500. They've won 7 in a row. Cade Cunningham is balling.
You want to brag about a team that's 32 and 26?
Oh, see, you see how he moved the goalposts?
Yeah, stop it.
They were 10 games better than he thought.
That's not success.
They need to be 70-4.
40-20. We talk about it.
So we can only talk about 3 teams?
Bro, Detroit Pistons ain't winning no championship. Stop it.
Because it really irritates me when all of these talking heads talk so negatively about either small market teams or just teams that don't line their pockets, right? And, you know, it also really irritates me when they're openly trying to poach star players to go to bigger markets, right? Like, I remember, you know, when Giannis was in the NBA Finals, Stephen A was hinting about Giannis possibly going to, like, the Knicks, right? Or him going to Miami or him going to a bigger market. And it's like, dude, are you really that starved for ratings? And, you know, the other thing, Stephen A wants to talk about, oh, you know, I don't need to go after ratings. Clearly you do, because you can't talk about LeBron, or you can't go a day without talking about LeBron. You can't talk about a young player without comparing them to a player of the past. You can't do these simple things, just talking about the sports as they are without these hypothetical situations. That's the problem, right? Like I said in my Nostalgia is Ruining the NBA video, it's like people like Stephen A are just so incapable of talking about the sport in like a semi-ethical way, right? And when I say ethical, I just mean by my standards, right? Because my thing is this, right? If you can't talk about the game at face value, then you suck at your job. It's as simple as that. If you can't talk about the game without some narrative-driven conversation or some agenda that you're trying to push, that you're just not good at your job. It's as simple as that. You know, Nick Wright is somebody that I respect, because at the very least, Nick Wright can talk about the game within the context of the game. Yes, he has his agendas. Yes, he has his narratives. But at the end of the day, he can do the basic thing right. And this whole Shaquille O'Neal thing, right? I've had problems with Shaquille O'Neal for years now, right? I've had problems with the way that he covers the game for years now, and it feels like now he's really starting to get more and more criticism for it, because, you know, all he does is shit on the game. He's the biggest, arguably the biggest problem with the NBA media right now, because everything that he says is so boomer coded, right? At least Charles Barkley, he tries to you know, put the game over a little bit when he's talking about the media and criticizing the media. Like a few weeks back, he was talking about, you know, how Kendrick Perkins, and, you know, I'm gonna go on a side tangent about this. Kendrick Perkins basically said that the Lakers were saving the NBA because of the fact that they traded for Luka Doncic, and Charles Barkley didn't appreciate this, because he's like, whoa, hold on a second, the Lakers, they just traded for Luka Doncic and they're having like a good stretch right now. I mean, granted, they've been good ever since the turn of the calendar, but, you know, people have started to notice it more because of the fact that they traded for Luka Doncic, right? They've been like the #1 defense. They've been one of the best 3-point shooting teams. Even though they lost Anthony Davis, their defense has fallen off a bit. It's still not horrible, right? But essentially, the point that Charles Barkley was making was that the Lakers have had a good 6 weeks. Meanwhile, Cleveland Cavaliers and OKC have been having a good 6 months. They've been good all year long, and nobody's talking about them. All they want to talk about is the Lakers. It's so funny. Now, for some reason, Lakers fans have this insane amount of confidence that they could beat a team like OKC in a 7-game series, right? Just because of this trade. Before February 2nd, 2025, people didn't even have the Lakers coming out of the second round, right? That was their ceiling, the second round. Now all of a sudden people are saying, oh, they're a lock for the finals. And I'm just thinking, where did all of this glaze come from, right? Granted, it's the Lakers, but like, they traded Anthony Davis, arguably their best defensive player. They traded Max Christie, somebody who could have given them valuable minutes if they played him more. Yes, they got Luka Doncic, but it's going to be such a huge adjustment period, especially in a playoff setting. teams are going to be hunting Luka Doncic defensively. Like, bro, it's a lot that they have to get in order if they want to actually make it to a final series, right? OKC, they haven't made any real trades for real. They've kept this roster together, and it's like they have the personnel to match up properly with the Lakers, right? And on top of that, they have way more offensive firepower. Like, I get it, they have Luka Doncic on their team, but from a fit standpoint, Luka and LeBron aren't that great of a fit, number one. But number two, and most importantly, OKC has size, which the Lakers don't have anymore. OKC has length, which the Lakers don't have, and OKC is just overall the better shooting team, the better team at attacking the rim. Like, the only thing that the Lakers have is that they have Luka Doncic, who can be their engine, right? Their offensive engine. That's it, really, right? Like, LeBron, he's great, but he's 40 years old. What more can you expect from this guy? But Charles Barkley made a very astute point. All the media talks about is the Lakers. All they talk about is LeBron. That's all they talk about. The Cleveland Cavaliers have been the best team in the Eastern Conference. They've revolutionized the pick and roll. Donovan Mitchell has been having a great season for himself. Evan Mobley is arguably Defensive Player of the Year this year. He probably wouldn't get it if Wemby was still healthy, but it is what it is. Look at a team like Memphis. Jaren Jackson Jr., again, he's in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. They're arguably the deepest team in the entire NBA, the best defensive team arguably as well. And Ja Morant is even having a crazy season, and they're doing phenomenally in the Western Conference. Look at the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets are like a year or two ahead of their projected timeline, right? They're a playoff level team, and they shouldn't even be this good this early. And this is where I have to kind of rescind my support for Charles Barkley, because he hypocritically shat on the Houston Rockets and said that they don't know how to play basketball during the in-season tournament. Now all of a sudden he wants to stick up for teams like the Cavs and the OKC, but you have to acknowledge the fact that you were wrong about the Rockets, right? Even look at a team like Detroit. Detroit is one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference this year. Think about how crazy you would have sounded like 6-7 months ago if you would have said that the Pistons would be a playoff team. Everybody projected the Pistons to be ass this year. Even me, I thought the Pistons were going to be terrible. I thought they were going to be tanking for Cooper Flagg. But Cade Cunningham has proven me wrong, right? He's elevated himself even further. Now, some can, talk about how, the Pistons, they brought in some three-point shooters. That's helped them out. Yes, but he's also elevated himself in other ways, right? Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Tobias Harris are having some of the best shooting seasons of their entire careers right now, and they're not getting the coverage at all. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? Even, and I'm going to pivot to this LeBron, Stephen A. Smith conversation real quick to just point out the hypocrisy, right? Stephen A. wants to talk about how, I tried to, warn LeBron. I was trying to protect Bronny because I didn't want Bronny to go through the criticism. Well, if you cared so much about Bronny James and his evolution, why aren't you talking about how he's playing in the G League right now? You had so much energy and so much audacity to bring up the fact that Bronny's putting up like 0.3 points per game, 0.2 assists per game, like 0.7 assists or rebounds per game. You had all this energy to bring up what Bronny's doing in the actual NBA when he's playing garbage time minutes, mind you. But when he's playing in the G League, he's putting up 21 a game. He just had like a 30 piece a few nights ago. He's playing good defense, and LeBron's not influencing any of this, right? You can't say, LeBron's helping him, because he's actively earning it himself, right? You can make the argument that Bronny James is a nepo baby still. You can make the argument that he wouldn't be here if it wasn't for his dad, but you can't take away from the fact that he's actually earning his way into the NBA. He's earning a spot, right? And to me, I think with what I've seen from Bronny James, he's a very capable NBA player. He could be like a Patrick Beverley type player, like I said before. I think that's what he could be at his peak. And for Stephen A. Smith to say, I try to protect him from the criticism. No, you're just being a gaslighter, right? Stephen A. tried to gaslight us into saying that, this is actually LeBron's fault because of what he tweeted. Dude, LeBron is trying to support his kid no matter what. What do you want him to say? Bronny's not good enough yet. Come to think of it, Bronny James, my son, he's probably not that great at basketball. What did you expect LeBron to say? Of course he's going to feel irrationally about his son, right? Now, I agree that it was cringe and he probably shouldn't have tweeted that, if we're being honest, right? But don't sit here and say, this is really LeBron's fault. Because if that was your child and he was in the NBA, you would be doing the same thing, Stephen A. Smith. So please, shut the hell up. And the other thing about this whole situation, Stephen A. wants to try and act all tough. He said that LeBron going up to him in person, mind you, was weak. How was that weak? In the slightest, how was it weak? Imagine if LeBron would have went on Twitter and added Stephen A. Smith talking about, oh well, stop talking about my son, keep my son's name out your mouth, yada yada yada. Stephen A., you know what Stephen A. would have done? He would have went on his show, or he would have went on some other platform and said, well, if you felt that way about it, I saw you in the game, LeBron. Why didn't you come up to me in person and say what you had to say? Stephen A. would have tried to flip it on the other side, right? LeBron being a father, it makes sense why he would react this way, right? And another quick tangent that I'm gonna go on, it's so weird to me how the NBA community treats active fathers, whether it be LeVar Ball, whether it be LeBron James, whether it be T. Morant, it doesn't matter. It's so weird that we treat them as if they're doing too much when they're talking about their children, right? Like, people were talking about LeVar Ball saying, oh, he's doing too much, he needs to let his kid be him, yada yada yada, he's being too much of a brand risk or whatever. Like, it even got to the point where people were saying that he was using his kids for money, and he was like living vicariously through his kids. And now both Lonzo and LaMelo are in the NBA. You have LiAngelo Ball, who has a semi-successful music career going for himself. Like, LeVar really went 3 for 3, and now the narrative has changed around him. Now everybody loves LeVar Ball. Now everybody can't get enough of seeing LeVar Ball on their social media feed. But 4, 5, 6 years ago, everybody was shitting on him. T. Morant, everybody was saying that, oh, he's doing too much, he needs to stop being so friendly to his son, yada yada. Dude, why do we treat NBA dads like this? This is ridiculous, right? Especially when you consider there's so many NBA players who grew up without a father, and there are so many people in general who grow up without a father. It's a very huge problem in the black community, and we treat the fathers that are actually in their children's lives as if they're doing too much, as if it's cringe to be a father. Like, bro, what are we doing? Like, I remember Jason Whitlock, that fat bastard, right? He was shitting on LeBron because, LeBron was dunking at his kid's game or something. Like, he was basically saying that LeBron is trying to make this all about himself, right? And it's just like, you hear that and you just laugh to yourself, because it's like, bro, what are you talking about? LeBron clearly was there to show support, right? And that's the other thing. Where is this energy for the deadbeat dads out there, right? Where is this energy for the NBA players like Karl Malone, that pedophile, that sick freak, right? Where is this energy for him? This guy, he literally had a child with a minor, mind you, but that's not even the worst part. He didn't want anything to do with that kid, and he was a deadbeat to that kid. And even when that kid wanted to have a relationship with their father, he was like, oh, it's too late for that now. And luckily for that kid ended up being an NFL player, Demetrius Bell, right? So shout out to Demetrius. But why isn't anybody talking about Karl Malone? You know what I'm saying? Why are we spending so much time talking about LeBron's fatherhood and all this nonsense when we have people like Karl Malone out there? Like, it makes absolutely no sense to me. And there are more examples of deadbeat fathers in the NBA, but to me, Karl Malone is the most egregious one, right? Because he not only is a pedophile and he's a freaky ass dude, but he abandoned that kid and he abandoned that kid's mother. So please make it make sense. But that's it for this video. This was kind of an off the cuff video. It was like kind of like a rant freestyle type video, just because like I didn't really want to script this, because I wanted to get my raw feelings out there, and I feel like it's going to resonate with a lot of people. If you agreed with with anything that I said in this video, make sure to let your voice be heard in the comments down below. I am looking forward to reading the comments. If you like videos like this, make sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe if you're new, and I'm out. Peace.